Hello, and welcome back to the Sleepy Stream. As I said, I told you yesterday. I bet you thought, man. Oop. There's volume somewhere. Go away, volume. We don't need you. Yeah, I bet you thought last night when Blashwath was like, we're gonna be streaming every night, nightly, at 8:30 p.m. EST. You were like, there's no way he's gonna do it tomorrow. Kid's got a 9 a.m. class on Tuesday. He's not gonna stay up till 1:30 to humor us with Harry Potter. Well, guess what? It's your lucky day, because I'm here humoring you with Harry Potter. I'm kidding. I'm not humoring anyone, except myself. This is the most fun thing. So, yeah, as I promised you, we're back, and we're going to be reading Chapter 2 of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I'm worryingly high energy right now, and I need to, mellow it down, because my plan for right after this stream, literally right after the stream, you know what's going to happen? I'm already in bed, but what's going to happen right after the stream? So I'm going to lean over just over there. You can't see it. My fan's right there. I'm just going to click the fan on. I might not even put the blanket over myself. I might just fall asleep right freaking here. Because holy cow, am I one tired boy. I took a nap. I'm not a big napper. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people advocate naps. I've never advocated naps too heavily, so I tend not to sweat that kind of thing, but I after the late bedtime last night also, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take a nap tonight. And so I was doing my laundry, I think, around 6 p.m. or so. I just passed out from 6 to 7, and I woke up because my alarm to pick up my laundry was going off. I didn't even set a phone alarm. It was dangerous. And I got up because my laundry alarm had gone off, and I guess I was a couple minutes late to the machines. But our building, the washing machine in our building, it's worth noting, only has a total of 6 washers and 6 dryers. There's one thing on the 13th floor that services a building of 1,000 people, no joke. There's another washroom on the first floor that's the same situation of 1,000 people, but it's 6 washers and 6 dryers also. So anyways, that doesn't seem like a wise choice. In an hour, sorry. Someone's like, I'm gonna be on stream in an hour. Stream's not even gonna be on in an hour, boys. It's you think we have that kind of commitment? No, we're just reading Harry Potter, you know. Harry Potter doesn't take a long time to read. Just a chapter. Okay. And boys, I gotta advertise to my peeps so they know what's good, so they know what's up, because people need to know what's up. Anyways, we're on stream. I don't know why I'm sending out the call to the hordes. Anyways, also another thing I realized, this is not a huge crime by any means, but we were previously streaming in 720p. I have now upgraded it to 1080 because for some reason Twitch was auto downscaling it. Someone's asking where stream. Twitch.tv /Blashwath. That's the one, boys. Twitch.tv /Blashwath. Find me here. Find me bumming around on my stream on my phone for some reason. So yeah, anyways, we're in 1080p now though, and so you can watch in full glorious resolution if you'd be so inclined. I don't know why, but in case you want to see the high-res Nesquik, high-res strawberry Nesquik, there's chocolate there also, don't worry, I'm not a monster. But yeah, in case you're interested, it's back there. Anyways, we've got Harry Potter with us, and I think we're gonna get started in just a couple more minutes. Give it time for anyone to file in who might wanna squeeze their way in. So that gives anyone who's here already time to cozy up. Is this actually 1080-60? Yeah, it's supposed to be 1080-60. I think OBS is probably, trying its hardest. I think it's 1080-30 actually. I don't think my webcam outputs in 60. I am not sure, so I'll double check that after stream. I think it's 1080. I think it claims it's 1080-60, but the cam itself only outputs in 30. Taking a hearty pull of my butterbeer. Akshay, you should make sure Sahana knows that she should get in on this, because we're going to be starting pretty soon. We're going to just give it a couple more minutes before we get going. So, I've got my tea today. I changed it up from the strawberry raspberry, water infusion. Good stuff. Can't lose my ticket to Hogwarts. Good stuff, but, can I up the gain? I'm really quiet. I think you should turn up your volume. I am supposedly... Hello. Am I any better now? Maybe I should just talk loudly. Or pull this down to here. Covers my beautiful face, though. Yeah. I'll talk loudly. I'll talk slightly louder. Yes. Okay. Any better? Yeah, turn up your own volume. This is the best I can get it for now. This setup is not 100% permanent. I'm puzzling out some of the details still. The point is, we stream every night, we'll slowly get better at making it a nice proper setup. Don't want to lose the ASMR viewers, but well, yeah, see, the thing is, if I get up here, then I can really do some ASMR and sort of whisper into the mic, or do a smooth jazz voice. How do you like that? Harry Potter with a smooth jazz voice on? Okay. Yeah, I know Adria. Plug to ASMR Adria. LMAO. Oh boy. This is an ASMR stream, right? Yeah, so this is gonna be Harry Potter ASMR. I've got these objects like this Birdie Bots every flavored bean can that's filled with... Whoa, why is there so much... There's no money in there. I mean, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's an empty Birdie Bots thing, Yeah, I plugged the Nesquik. Yeah, so this is Nesquik. It's a very popular beverage. You can drink this stuff warm or cold. That's the beauty of it. Mix it with milk. It's got a lot of good bonuses. Nesquik take, for example. I think it's got about 30% less sugar than most other milk drink mixes. It's got no corn syrup in it. It has 10% more calcium than most chocolate milks you will drink, and it's an essential part of any growing boy or girl's diet. Nesquik, this is the strawberry kind. We've also got chocolate flavored Nesquik. If you are more of a chocolate person than a strawberry person. There's also vanilla, banana. If you want to go wild, sometimes what I like to do, I like to get a collection of 3 or 4 different kinds of Nesquik, but you got the strawberry, the vanilla, the chocolate, all the classic flavors. Now, they usually recommend you put in 2 tablespoons of whatever you're doing. But you go wild. You hear me out on this one. You go wild now and again. Get a spoonful of vanilla, tablespoon of vanilla, tablespoon of chocolate, tablespoon of strawberry. Maybe you want to toss 2 vanillas in there because it's a bit subtle. Mix it all up into a glass with milk. Maybe toss a little condensed milk in there. You've got an amazing Neapolitan Nesquik, as I like to call it. A Neapolitan Nesquik. Now that's the good stuff. ASMR Adria, yeah, you could listen to ASMR done by this amazing person called Adria, but what's that really gonna get for you? ASMR is temporary. Nesquik is forever. I mean, I am going into marketing. Anyways, I am really babbling out here, so I think it's probably time that we get started with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Chapter 2. I think anyone who's going to file in... Billy Mays here with a what's it? A special time offer. A limited time offer. Call now and for $19.99, I will personally ship you a single tablespoon of Nesquik. But wait, there's more. You follow my stream and I will ship you for $19.99.99 one whole tub of Nesquik. That's right. For one follow. That's it. It's that simple. And I will do it Nesquickly, mind you. Okay. Anyways, we've got a stream to start. I hope you guys are all cozied up. I'm pretty cozy right now. I've got, like, as you can see from my dying eyes and the giant black rings under them, I'm very sleepy. I've got my little pupper here with me, my woofer. I've got my glass of licorice tea, as I was saying before we started all of this. I changed it up. Went for licorice today because it's better for the throat. And, of course, right here, I've got our beautiful copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And we're going to be reading Chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass. Okay, just getting in the mood. Take a long pull. Oh, licorice tea is, honestly, if you guys haven't had licorice tea, it is amazing. Otherworldly, really. Okay. So, hope you guys are all cozied up. Let's get started with Chapter 2, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, The Vanishing Glass. I'm gonna put this up. How does it taste better than actual licorice? Or does it taste better? I don't know. Actual licorice is really good. And, I mean, licorice tea is literally just ground up licorice root, so it is actual licorice. So, actually, it tastes the same as actual licorice, because it is actual licorice. Stop sidetracking me. Okay, we're gonna get going here. There we go. The Vanishing Glass. Nearly 10 years had passed since the Dursleys had woken up to find their nephew on the front step, but Privet Drive had hardly changed at all. The sun rose on the same tidy front gardens and lit up the brass number 4 on the Dursleys' front door. It crept into their living room, which was almost exactly the same as it had been on the night when Mr. Dursley had seen the fateful news report about the owls. Only the photographs on the mantelpiece really showed how much time had passed. 10 years ago, there had been lots of pictures of what looked like a large pink beach ball wearing different colored bobble hats. But Dudley Dursley was no longer a baby, and now the photograph showed a large blonde boy riding his first bicycle on a roundabout at the fair, playing a computer game with his father, being hugged and kissed by his mother. The room held no sign at all that another boy lived in the house too. Yet Harry Potter was still there, asleep at the moment, but not for long. His Aunt Petunia was awake, and it was her shrill voice which made the first noise of the day. Up! Get up, now! Harry Potter woke up with a start. His aunt rapped on the door. Up! She screeched. Harry heard her walking towards the kitchen, and then the sound of a frying pan being put on the cooker. He rolled onto his back and tried to remember the dream he had been having. It was a good one. There had been a flying motorbike in it. He had had a funny feeling that he had had the same dream before. Are you up yet? His aunt demanded. Nearly, said Harry. We'll get a move on. I want you to look after the bacon. And don't you dare let it burn. I want everything to be perfect on Dudley's birthday. Harry groaned. What did you say? His aunt snapped through the door. Nothing. Dudley's birthday. How could he have forgotten? Harry got slowly out of bed and started looking for socks. He found a pair under his bed, and after pulling a spider off one of them, put them on. Harry was used to spiders because the cupboard under the stairs was full of them, and that was where he slept. When he was dressed, he went down to the hall in the kitchen. The table was almost hidden beneath all of Dudley's birthday presents. It looked as though Dudley had got the new computer he wanted, not to mention the second television and the racing bike. Exactly why Dudley wanted a racing bike was a mystery to Harry, as Dudley was very fat and hated exercise, unless, of course, it involved punching somebody. Dudley's favorite punch bag was Harry, but he couldn't often catch him. Harry didn't look it, but he was very fast. Perhaps it had something to do with living in a dark cupboard, but Harry had always been small and skinny for his age. He looked even smaller and skinnier than he really was because all he had to wear were old clothes of Dudley's, and Dudley was about 4 times bigger than he was. Harry had a thin face, knobbly knees, black hair, and bright green eyes. He wore round glasses held together with a lot of sellotape because most of the time Dudley had punched him on the nose. The only thing Harry liked about his own appearance was a very thin scar on his forehead, which was shaped like a bolt of lightning. He had had it as long as he could remember, and the first question he could ever remember asking his Aunt Petunia was how he had gotten it. "In a car crash, when your parents died," she had said. "And don't ask questions." Don't ask questions. That was the first rule for a quiet life with the Dursleys. Uncle Vernon entered the kitchen as Harry was turning over the bacon. "Comb your hair," he barked, by way of a morning greeting. About once a week, Uncle Vernon looked over the top of his newspapers and shouted that Harry needed a haircut. Harry must have had more haircuts than the rest of the boys in his class put together, but it made no difference. His hair simply grew that way, all over the place. Here we go. First illustration of the evening. We've got Harry in his cupboard under the stairs, surrounded by spiders. It's very busy. A lot of spiders in there, quite a bit. He's looking very, very melancholy as he sits around in his cabinet. His cupboard, even. Harry was frying eggs by the time Dudley arrived in the kitchen with his mother. Dudley looked a lot like Uncle Vernon. He had a large pink face, not much neck, small, watery blue eyes, and thick blonde hair that laid smoothly on his thick, fat head. Aunt Petunia often said that Dudley looked like a little baby angel. Harry often said that Dudley looked like a pig in a wig. Harry put the plate of eggs and bacon on the table, which was difficult as there wasn't much room. Dudley, meanwhile, was counting his presents. His face fell. 36, he said, looking up at his mother-father. "That's 2 less than last year." "Darling, you haven't counted Auntie Marge's present. See, it's here under this big one from Mummy and Daddy." "All right, 37 then," said Dudley, going red in the face. Harry, who could see a huge Dudley tantrum coming on, began wolfing down his bacon as fast as possible in case Dudley turned the table over. Aunt Petunia obviously scented danger also, because she said quickly, And we'll buy you another 2 presents while we're out today. How's that, Popkin? 2 more presents, is that all right?" Dudley thought for a moment. It looked like hard work. Finally, he said, "So I'll have 39, sweetums," said Aunt Petunia. "Oh," said Dudley, and sat down heavily and grabbed the nearest parcel. "All right, then." Uncle Vernon chuckled. "Little Tyke wants his money's worth, just like his father. Attaboy, Dudley." He ruffled Dudley's hair. At that moment, the telephone rang, and Aunt Petunia went to answer it while Harry and Uncle Vernon watched Dudley unwrap the racing bike, a cine-camera, a remote-control aeroplane, 16 new computer games, and a video recorder. He was ripping the paper off a gold wristwatch when Aunt Petunia came back from the telephone looking both angry and worried. "Bad news, Vernon," she said. "Mrs. Figg's broken her leg. She can't take him." She jerked her head in Harry's direction. Dudley's mouth fell open in horror. But Harry's heart gave a leap. Every year, on Dudley's birthday, his parents took him out and a friend for the day, to adventure parks, hamburger bars, or the cinema. Every year, Harry was left behind with Mrs. Figg, a mad old lady who lived 2 streets away. Harry hated it there. The whole house smelled of cabbage, and Mrs. Figg made him look at photographs of all the cats she'd ever owned. "Now what?" said Aunt Petunia, looking furiously at Harry, as though she had planned this. Harry knew he ought to feel sorry for Mrs. Figg, who had broken her leg, but it wasn't easy when he reminded himself that it would be a whole year before he had to look at Tibbles, Snowy, Mr. Paws, and Tufty again. "We could phone Marge," Uncle Vernon suggested. "Don't be silly, Vernon. She hates the boy." The Dursleys often spoke about Harry like this, as though he wasn't really there, or rather, as though he was something very nasty that couldn't understand them, like a slug. What about what's-her-name? Your friend Yvonne?" on holiday in Majora, snapped Aunt Marge. You could just leave me here, Harry put in hopefully. He'd be able to watch what he wanted on television for a change, and maybe even have a go on Dudley's computer. Aunt Petunia looked as though she had just swallowed a lemon. And come back to find the house in ruins? I wouldn't blow up the house, said Harry, but they weren't listening. I suppose we could take him to the zoo, said Aunt Petunia slowly, and leave him in the car. That car's new. He's not sitting in it alone. Dudley began to cry loudly. In fact, he wasn't really crying. It had been years since he had really cried. But he knew that if he screwed up his face and wailed, his mother would give him anything he wanted. Dinky Duddy-Dums, don't cry. Mommy won't let him spoil your special day, she cried, flinging her arms around him. I don't want him. I don't want him to come, Dudley yelled between huge pretend sobs. He always spoils everything. He shot Harry a nasty grin through the gap in his mother's arms. Just then, the doorbell rang. Oh, good Lord, they're here, said Aunt Petunia frantically. And a moment later, Dudley's best friends, Piers Polkiss, walked in with his mother. Piers was a scrawny boy with a face like a rat. He was usually the one that held people's arms behind their backs while Dudley hit them. Dudley stopped pretending to cry. Half an hour later, Harry, who couldn't believe his luck, was sitting in the back of the Dursleys' cars with Piers and Dudley, on his way to the zoo for the first time in his life. His aunt and uncle hadn't been able to think of anything else to do with him, but before they'd left, Uncle Vernon had taken Harry aside. I'm warning you, he said, putting his large purple face right up close to Harry's. I'm warning you now, boy. Any funny business, anything at all, and you'll be in that cupboard from now until Christmas. I'm not going to do anything, said Harry. Honestly. But Uncle Vernon didn't believe him. No one ever did. The problem was that strange things happened around Harry, and it was just no good telling the Dursleys he didn't make them happen. Once, Aunt Petunia, tired of Harry coming back from the barber's looking as though he hadn't been at all, had taken a pair of kitchen scissors and cut his hair so short he was almost bald, except for his fringe, which he had left to hide his horrible scar. Quote unquote. Dudley had laughed himself silly at Harry, who spent a sleepless night imagining school the next day, where he was already laughed at for his baggy clothes and sellotaped glasses. Next morning, however, he had gotten up to find his hair exactly as it had been before Aunt Petunia had sheared it off. He had been given a week in his cupboard for this, even though he tried to explain that he couldn't explain how it had grown back so quickly. Another time, Aunt Petunia had been trying to force him into a revolting old jumper of Dudley's, brown with orange baubles. The harder she tried to pull it over his head, the smaller it seemed to become, until finally it might have fitted a glove puppet, but it certainly wouldn't fit Harry. Aunt Petunia had decided that it must have shrunk in the wash, and to his great relief, Harry wasn't punished. On the other hand, he'd gotten into terrible trouble when they had found him being on the roof of the school kitchens. Dudley's gang had been chasing him as usual when, much to Harry's surprise as to anyone else's, there he was, sitting on the chimney. The Dursleys had received a very angry letter from Harry's headmistress telling them Harry had been climbing school buildings, but all he had tried to do, as he shouted at Uncle Vernon through the locked door of his cupboard, was jump behind the big bins outside the kitchen door. Harry supposed that the wind must have caught up to him mid-jump. But today, nothing was going to go wrong. It was even worth being with Dudley and Piers to be spending the day somewhere that wasn't his school, his cupboard, or Mrs. Figg's cabbage-smelling living room. Oh, this is quite lovely. We've got on this page, I don't think the comparison comes up later, so I'm just going to show it now. So you've got this illustration of an ape on one side, and then looking very much the same, an illustration of Dudley with his thick hair, and one of them's the ape's holding the banana, and Dudley's holding a little ice cream cone, a little cornetto. Very sweet, love it. While he drove, Uncle Vernon complained to Aunt Petunia. He liked to complain about things. People at work, Harry, the council, Harry, the bank, and Harry were just a few of his favorite subjects. This morning, it was motorbikes. Roaring along like maniacs. The young hoodlums, he said as a motorbike overtook them. I had a dream about a motorbike, said Harry, remembering suddenly. It was flying. Uncle Vernon nearly crashed the car in front. He turned right around in his seat and yelled at Harry, his face like a gigantic beetroot with a mustache. Motorbikes don't fly! Dudley and Pierce sniggered. I know they don't, said Harry. It was only a dream. But he wished he hadn't said anything. If there was one thing the Dursleys hated even more than his asking questions, it was his talking about anything acting in the way it shouldn't. No matter if it was a dream or even a cartoon, they seemed to think he might get dangerous ideas. It was a very sunny Saturday at the zoo, and it was crowded with families. The Dursleys bought Dudley and Pierce large chocolate ice creams at the entrance, and then, because the smiling lady in the van had asked Harry what he had wanted before they could hurry him away, they bought him a cheap lemon ice lolly. It wasn't bad either, Harry thought, licking it as they watched a gorilla scratching his head that looked remarkably like Dudley, though it wasn't blonde. Oh, there is your comparison for the gorilla and Dudley. Harry had the best morning he had had in a long time. He was careful to walk a little way apart from the Dursleys so that Dudley and Pierce, who were starting to get bored with the animals by lunchtime, wouldn't fall back on their favorite hobby of hitting him. They ate in the zoo restaurant, and when Dudley had a tantrum because his Knickerbocker glory wasn't big enough, Uncle Vernon bought him another, and Harry was allowed to finish the first. What is a Knickerbottom glory? Because that sounds very dirty if you ask me, and I have no idea what it is. Someone Google what a Knickerbottom glory is and get back to me on that one. Harry felt afterwards that he should have known it was all too good to last. I wonder what's going to happen to poor old Harry. Well, we'll find out. After lunch, they went to the reptile house. It was cool and dark in here, with lit windows along the walls. Behind the glass, all sorts of lizards and snakes were crawling and slithering over bits of wood and stone. Dudley and Pierce wanted to see huge poisonous cobras and thick man-crushing pythons. Dudley quickly found the largest snake in the place. It could have wrapped its body twice around Uncle Vernon's car and crushed it into a dustbin. But at the moment it didn't look in the mood. In fact, it was asleep. Dudley stood with his nose pressed against the glass, staring at the glistening brown coils. "Make it move," he whined at his father. Uncle Vernon tapped on the glass, but the snake didn't budge. "Do it again," Dudley ordered. Uncle Vernon rapped the glass smartly with his knuckles, but the snake just snoozed on. "This is boring," Dudley moaned. He shuffled away. Harry moved in front of the tank and looked intently at the snake. He wouldn't have been surprised if it had died of boredom by itself. No company except stupid people drumming their fingers on the glass trying to disturb it all day. It was worse than having a cupboard as a bedroom, where the only visitor was Aunt Petunia hammering on the door to wake you up. At least he got to visit the rest of the house. Here we go. The snake suddenly opened its beady eyes. Slowly, and very slowly, it raised its head until its eyes were level on Harry's. It winked. Here we have a lovely, I need to get my cam up. A lovely illustration of Harry smiling down at the snake that's just arisen and winked at him. Quite gorgeous, that one. It's pressed up against the glass. You can see his fingers smudging it. Harry stared. Then, he looked quickly around to see if anyone was watching. They weren't. He looked back at the snake and winked too. The snake jerked its head towards Vernon and Dudley, then raised its eyes to the ceiling, gave Harry a look that quite plainly said, "I get that all the time." "I know," said Harry murmured through the glass, though he wasn't sure the snake could hear him. "It must be really annoying." The snake nodded vigorously. "Where do you come from?" asked Harry. The snake jabbed its tail at a little sign next to the glass. Harry peered at it. "Boa constrictor. Brazil." "Was it nice there?" The boa constrictor jabbed its tail at the sign again, and Harry read on. The specimen was bred in the zoo. "Oh, I see. So you've never been to Brazil?" As the snake shook its head, a deafening shout behind Harry made both of them jump. "Dudley! Mr. Dursley! Come and see the snake! You won't believe what it's doing!" Dudley came waddling towards them as fast as he could. "Out of the way, you!" he said, punching Harry in the ribs. Caught by surprise, Harry fell hard on the concrete floor. What came next happened so fast that no one saw how it happened. 1 second, Piers and Dudley were leaning right up close to the glass. The next, they had leapt back with howls of horror. Harry sat up and gasped. The glass in front of the boa constrictor's tank had vanished. The great snake was uncoiling itself rapidly, slithering out onto the floor. People throughout the reptile house screamed and started running for the exits. As the snake slid swiftly past him, Harry could have sworn a low hissing voice said, "Brazil, here I come. Thanks, amigo." The keeper of the reptile house was in shock. But the glass, he said. Where did the glass go?" "Where did the glass go?" "Scotland, obviously." The zoo director himself made Aunt Petunia a cup of strong sweet tea while he apologized over and over again. Piers and Dudley could only gibber. As far as Harry had seen, the snake hadn't done anything except snap playfully at their heels as it passed. But by the time they were all back in Uncle Vernon's car, Dudley was telling them how he had nearly gotten his leg bitten off, while Piers was swearing that it had tried to squeeze him to death. But worst of all, for Harry at least, was Piers calming down enough to say, "Harry was talking to it, weren't you, Harry?" Oh, and here we go. Another lovely illustration here of the large boa constrictor slithering through the zoo. Oh, I've gone back a page in time. And forward! Yeah, there's this gorgeous snake, and you can see it scaring off the janitor, the zookeeper, and some schoolgirls. And a nice little touch, there's a ladder plonked down against it. Yes, my copy is illustrated. That's a main selling point, Sahana, for the stream. It's twice the price of a non-illustrated version of this book. Anyways, Uncle Vernon waited until Piers was safely out of the house before starting on Harry. He was so angry he could hardly speak. He managed to say, "Go! Cupboard! Stay! No meals!" before he collapsed into a chair, and Aunt Petunia had to run and get him large brandy. Harry lay in his dark cupboard much later, wishing he had a watch. He didn't know what time it was, and he couldn't be sure the Dursleys were asleep yet. Until they were, he couldn't risk sneaking into the kitchen for some food. He'd lived with the Dursleys almost 10 years. 10 miserable years. As long as he could remember, ever since he had been a baby and his parents had died in a car crash. He couldn't remember being in the car when his parents had died. Sometimes, when he strained his memory, he came up with a strange vision. Blinding flash of green light and a burning pain on his forehead. This, he supposed, was the crash, though he couldn't imagine where all the green light had come from. He couldn't remember his parents at all. His aunt and uncle never spoke about them, and of course he was forbidden to ask questions. There were no photographs of them in the house. When he had been younger, Harry had dreamed and dreamed of some unknown relation coming to take him away, but it had never happened. The Dursleys were his only family. Yet sometimes he thought, or maybe hoped, that strangers in the street seemed to know him. Very strange strangers they were, too. A tiny man in a violet top hat had bowed to him once, while out shopping with Aunt Petunia and Dudley. After asking Harry furiously if he knew the man, Aunt Petunia had rushed them out of town, out of the shop even, without buying anything. A wild-looking woman, dressed in all green, had waved at him merrily on a bus once. A bald man in a very long purple coat had actually shaken his hand in the street the other day, and then walked away without a word. The weirdest thing about all these people was they seemed to vanish the second Harry tried to get a closer look. At school, Harry had no one. Everybody knew that Dudley's gang hated that odd Harry Potter in his baggy clothes and broken glasses, and nobody liked to disagree with Dudley's gang. Thought there would be a little more there, but no. that is Chapter 2 of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's actually the same length as Chapter 1, though I think it reads a little faster with our boa constrictor running amok in the zoo. Chaos ensuing. It's quite fun to see. Harry's progressing a little bit. What are all these strange going on with his haircuts and the boa constrictor? I guess we'll have to find out in the next chapter if there is really a distant relation who's come to take him away sometime. Of course, the next chapter, here's your little sneak preview of the letters from no one. And we've got a lovely picture of a quite chubby, smiling Dudley in the center of them. So let me just dog-ear this page. But yeah, there you have it. I'm going to take a pull from my tea before I wrap up the stream. I would encourage you guys, if you don't have a warm beverage right now, after a lovely bit of bedtime stories, to fix yourself up one, and, relax a little before you head to bed. Lovely. Well, what can I say? Thank you so much for joining me on the Sleepy Stream tonight, if you managed to drop by. Remember, the Sleepy Stream is nightly at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. It is 1:30 a.m. for Greenwich Mean Time plus 1 hour British Summer Time, if that's what you're looking at. Although, we're about to change time zones this Sunday. Not change time zones, that is. I think we've got the British version of Fallback Sunday. So I'm actually not sure how that affects things. I think that means everything is an hour later than it should be, which is alarming because I don't want to be going to bed at 2:30 in the morning as opposed to 1:30 because we get back an hour of sleep. Although wait, maybe then it's the other way around. I hope it's the other way around, because if it is, I can start the stream at 12:30 for like a couple weeks, and that would be amazing. Ahoy, Alex! Thanks for joining. You're literally joining for the outro of the stream. Just for you, because you came by, I'm going to show you some pictures from today's reading. Also, don't worry if you're just joining, or if you popped in the middle and you were like, damn it, I wanted to be there for all of it. All of the streams are going to be uploaded to YouTube the day after, the afternoon after, probably about 3 p.m. to my YouTube channel, which, if you guys don't know, it is Blashwath. You can find me. I'm pretty sure it's linked in my Twitch bio and everything like that. Yeah, they'll be uploaded after. I haven't uploaded the first one yet. I'll put both of this one and the one out. Yeah, tomorrow at 3 p.m. You'll be able to watch them. Here are, Alex, for you, just because you just joined and you missed a lot of the stream. There is Harry Potter staring at the boa constrictor in the London Zoo. Quite excitingly. I actually haven't visited the London Zoo myself, although it's very close to me. It's within a couple miles, so I might have to go over and go to the reptile house to see see if I can't make it. And then also, here is another of the boa constrictor scaring these poor old zoo visitors who are just minding their own business. It's a lovely illustrated copy, this book. They're really, really gorgeous. So yeah, anyways, as I said, Sleepy Stream will be nightly. You can come by tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am always talking for about 10 minutes before the actual reading starts, so get in early, get in a little late, whatever you want. So long as you're there for it, that's great. I know, exactly, right? Isn't this such a nice touch with the, they even put like a ladder. I think it's a very deliberate illustration choice that they put the ladder right next to the snake, and the people running around it, the checkered tiles. It's very well done. So anyways, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be lit. Tomorrow we'll be reading Chapter 3, in which I think we start to get more hints of the magical world that is turning around Harry. But be there, be on time, and you'll see it. For now, that's our reading for the night. Thanks so much for popping by, and don't forget, stay cozy out there, friends.